Hello and good afternoon from San Antonio, Texas. This is David Crow coming to you again this week with a major breakthrough with answered prayer to share with you this week. So, just to give you the background, I've talked about this before that my oldest son was trying to finalize his college decision, really wanted to play college baseball. My prayer for over 3 months has been that he would be able to find a place to go play baseball collegiately and somewhere where he can also fish. Those are his two greatest passions in life is baseball and fishing. And to be able to do both of them would just be the absolute perfect scenario for him as he goes off to college next year. So on January 3rd, we flew out to St. Louis and we drove 2 hours north of there to a college named Culver-Stockton College. And it's in a small town, Canton, Missouri. So it's 15 hours from San Antonio. And this is one of the teams that have recruited John David to play college baseball. So we decided we'd go up there and we would meet with the coaches, check out the campus, all of that stuff. So we get there, and the first blessing was getting our rental car. I've always wanted to drive a Dodge Charger, and lo and behold, that's exactly the vehicle that we got for the weekend was a Dodge Charger. And I couldn't believe it. We had the best time driving around that car. Now, it wasn't the V8, but still, it had a lot of pep. It was a lot of fun. And JD and I just had the best time tooling around Missouri in that car. Now, the other thing I will tell you about Missouri at that time of year, it is cold. It's not like Texas. It's clear, crisp, and cold. I think one of the days we were there was a high of 19. And so it was a good time for us to visit as well because this is, really what it's going to be like when he goes off to college. But he loved it. He absolutely loved how crisp it was. Even though it was cold, it didn't seem to bother him very much at all. So we get to the campus, we meet with the coach, and everything's great. Like everything that we talked to him about was fantastic. Really felt like this was a place that my son would thrive, a place that I would trust these guys at the next level with him, even though it's so far away from home. Again, like I keep saying that because this is a major factor for us as a family. But I went into this trip trying to find reasons to say no. And really, by the time this thing was done, I didn't have a single reason to say no. The facilities were really nice. Like I said, the coaches were very upfront. The only thing it came down to was a scholarship money offer, and it was a little bit lower than what we thought he was worth. And so we kind of had that conversation about, okay, it's 15 hours from home. There's some schools in Texas that we've been talking to where he's got more scholarship availability than what you guys are offering. I don't think we're too far apart, but there needs to be a little bit of a movement. So once we left meeting with the coach, we went to take the tour on the campus, and so we had a guy that's a student there. He was Mr. Culver. He's a decathlete, super athlete, great kid, good conversation. And we are also there with another family whose daughter is being recruited for baseball. She was transferring from a junior college, and she was an elementary education major who wants to be a principal. So, as you can imagine, on this tour, we got to talk about a lot of different things, and I kind of gave her some ideas and some, asked her about why she wanted to be a principal. She talked about that, and she had a really good handle and perspective of why she wants to be an elementary principal. God bless elementary folks. I could never be an elementary teacher or administrator. Those kids are just too little for me. They're a little bit too sensitive to the way I am. I don't think it'd be a good fit. I was a much better fit at the secondary level. Anyways, that's a side note. So while we're taking the tour and we're walking the campus, let me just go back in time and just say, I've been working out and walking and getting stronger for about 2.5 months before this tour. And thank God that I did because there were hills, there were stairs, there were things that I would not have been able to manage on this walking tour back in October before I started really getting out and trying to walk and ride my bike. I have a recumbent bike that I use. I've been doing some weightlifting as well. But just felt a whole lot better, and I was able to keep up with these kids on this tour. Thank goodness. Back wasn't really ever an issue. But I'm gonna tell you, there was a staircase as we're going up this thing. It felt like I was at the Alamo Dome trying to go up this staircase up this massive hill back to the admissions office. And I remember looking at John David. I said, "Man, I couldn't have done this in October." And he just kind of chuckled because he knows I've been working really hard. I'm down 17 pounds as of this recording. I usually do my weigh-ins on Sunday mornings, so hopefully I'll be down a little bit more. But I do have an end goal in mind to lose more weight. But my biggest focus right now is just to be healthier. So as we're going back to the admissions office, um, my son gets a text from the coach, and basically the text is kind of asking him how much money or would it take. I mean, that's not exactly what the question was, but that's generally what he was asking: is what's your number? And so John David looks at me and says, like, well, what should I do? I said, tell him the highest amount that you've been offered, and just tell him, this is what I've been offered at another school, and leave it at that. And so that kind of happened, and the coach said that he'd be back in touch with him probably the next week. And so we go to admissions, we meet the admissions counselor, and the admissions counselor tells us that they had not received his transcript. And so John David was confused because he had sent that to them in October. And he said, I can send it to you again. I've got it right here on my phone. I can just forward that email back to you. And so she said, yeah, please do so. And then she asked him what his GPA was, and he told her what his GPA was, and he's done really well in school. And she said, well, if that's the case, then you qualify for this scholarship academically, which was $2,000 more than what we had originally been told. And then he has an opportunity to apply for another scholarship, which will give him another $1,000, even if he doesn't get this full tuition scholarship. By going through the process, they'll reward him with another $1,000 a year. So just in admissions, we've come up $3,000 basically from this conversation. And so we're kind of looking at each other because now the numbers are very close. They're very close. And so, he's very excited because, we're like, okay, this is very possible. So we're going to fast forward to coming back to San Antonio. We're excited about this school. We're excited about the location. It's got everything that he wants. It's right off the Mississippi River. When he talked with the coach, they talked a lot about fishing. A lot of the guys fish, including the coach. Their rule of thumb is you just don't go by yourself because they want to make sure that in case something happens, there's always, there's a buddy system involved there. And so I kind of chuckled because I told the coach, I said, this doesn't strike me as a very dangerous town. Again, coming from San Antonio, you got a little different perspective on what that means to don't go somewhere by yourself. And he said, no, we just want to make sure in case something happens, there's always somebody there. We don't want anybody to have an accident and be stuck by themselves. And I said, look, I absolutely appreciate and honor that. And then they talked about some different fishing spots as well. And so there was just as much conversation about fishing as there was about baseball. We also went, before we did the campus tour, we had a little bit of time after we ate lunch, and we went and found the embankment for the Mississippi River. And there's a nice little park that's kind of developed there. And John David spotted some bald eagles, and he's just in amazement. He's always been very into nature, but this was just captivating. I mean, it's cool, it's crisp. You see this massive eagle, one in the tree and one flying looking for food, and he's telling me all about it. Which is the male, which is the female, and how all that works with them. He saw where that eagle was looking for prey, and he's telling me how the river where it's flowing right there, that's probably where a lot of the fish kind of school up just because there was a ridge. And I'm just listening to him, I'm just like, wow, this kid's really in his element right here. And it was probably about that point where I knew, even before we got into college, that this is probably where he's going to go. And while I hate that it's so far away, I'm just accepting the fact that this is his life. This is what he wants. These are his passions. And so, we just continue to pray about this decision. I've been praying about this decision for over 3 months. And so I'm looking at, biblical verses, and I'm looking at things about prayer. And Mark 11:24 tells us, therefore I tell you, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it and it will be yours. In Matthew, it tells us, ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be open to you. That's Matthew 7:7. Luke 18:1, Jesus told his disciples a parable to show them that they should always pray and not give up. Colossians 2, devote yourselves to prayer, being watchful and thankful. John 5:14 and 15, he hears us whenever we ask for anything that pleases him. And if we know that he hears us, whatever we ask, we know that we have what we asked of him. And if it is according to his will, he hears us. That's a little bit out of order. But anytime that you pray and it's aligned with God's will, it is absolutely a magical thing because it's going to come together. It may not be in your timing, but if it's his will, it will be done as long as you're open to doing his will. And like I said, we've been praying about this and praying about this. So fast forward to last weekend. We go to church on Saturday night because my other son, Michael, had a baseball commitment on Sunday, so we weren't going to be able to make it to the Sunday morning service that we usually go to because we had to go to Texas State University for his select baseball media day and practice and all of that good stuff. So we go to church on Saturday night. Now at our church, we're doing a 21 days of prayer and fasting looking for breakthrough. And so when the altar call came to come down, like I go down and I'm there with Michael and we're praying. And I'm praying over some personal things, but I'm also praying for my son. I'm praying over this college decision because we had not heard from the coach. And it had kind of been a little bit. And we're kind of getting a little bit anxious. And so while I'm down there praying for this decision, and I'm praying that God makes it obvious that if this is his will, that we're going to hear from the coach and that his scholarship number is going to be met. Next thing I know, I feel a hand on my shoulder, and it is John David, and he's grabbing my shoulder. He's like, Dad, look. And he's showing me his phone, and he said, Dad, it's the coach. They matched my number, and he wants to know if my commitment is still valid. And I said, well, son, you need to reply right now. And we start singing and praising God down there in the front. We're dancing, we're hooping, we're hollering. And if you've ever been around me, you know that I can make some noise. And we're just, like, I just can't believe it. I'm just shouts of joy. My wife's down there. It's the four of us. Like, we're in this group hug, and we just like, this is what we've been praying for months. This small school in Missouri that we had never heard of prior to about August when they initially contacted one of our select coaches and talked about John David. And then we finally went and did the visit and we met the coaches and then we finally get the offer. That was three solid months of prayer about this. And boom, it happened. And boom, it's exactly the amount of money that we were looking for or hoping for. And in fact, it's even more because it's going to be more than what he would have gotten at his best offer. But I just cannot believe how God moved in that moment. How while I'm down there praying for my son, I get a hand on my shoulder with him showing me a text message from the coach on a Saturday night at about 5:15 saying, this is your scholarship offer. Is your commitment still good? Are you still committed? There's no other explanation for this but God's will be done. There's just no other explanation for it. Every other school that we had initially talked with or talked about, they just never really circled back. The only school that was really serious about him is a school in Canton, Missouri, that's 2 miles off the Mississippi River, that's got fishing galore. It's out in nature. It's a gorgeous campus with a really good-looking facility. They've invested so much money on their baseball field. The grass is unlike anything we've seen. The infield, like when John David saw it, he goes, Dad, that's the good dirt. That's like major league stuff there. This is a program that we both feel like is kind of on the rise in NAIA. We don't know where this is going to lead. Doesn't really matter. This is where my son belongs right now. It is God's will for him to be going to this school. On February 6th, we will celebrate this at Lee High School, which is where he goes to school, and we'll have his signing day there. And we've invited his former coaches, current coaches, people he's played with. Uh, One of the sisters of one of his former teammates does media day. She takes pictures all the time of the Lee basketball team. She also did the Marucci Elite media day that Mac was at Texas State. She's going to be doing the pictures for us. It's just going to be a great time of celebration. All of that is fantastic, but to me, it's about answered prayer, fervent, persistent prayer for over 3 months about my son's collegiate decision, that he would be able to go to college, play baseball, and go somewhere where he can fish. And hallelujah, that prayer has been answered, and then some. If you don't believe in the power of prayer, I don't know what to tell you. I know that it works. I've seen how good it works. You can't tell me that my God can't do something. I talked about it in the blessings episode. My God can do anything. Don't tell me my God isn't real. I know he's real, and he's very much a part of my life and my spirit, the spirit, I'm full of it right now. Guys, I just again can't tell you how much of a blessing it's been. Some of you have reached out to me and you've shared things that have kind of touched you, things that I'm saying. Again, these are things coming from God. I really am just being obedient to what he puts on my heart to share. There is no script today. I did look up some verses on prayer just so I'd have them on the computer in front of me, but it's kind of changed here in 2025. I'm really just speaking from the heart. And man, I just can't thank him enough for putting us in a position where my son can be successful, hopefully, playing at the collegiate level, but he gets to pursue his passion. And that's something there's no amount of money. There's no anything that can make up for you getting to do something that you're truly passionate about. One of the songs I've been listening to a lot lately too is John Reddick's God Turn It Around. That song is a huge, powerful song for me. God Turn It Around. It is, if you haven't listened to it, I highly encourage that you listen to it. I don't have the lyrics in front of me, and I'm certainly not going to sing it for you. But I highly recommend that you listen to it. Look for the live version if you can. The live version is even better than the recorded version, the studio version. But I've probably talked a little bit longer than normal, but it's just because I'm so passionate about what has happened. I'm so thrilled about the breakthrough that occurred for our family. And I'm just so proud of my son that he gets to chase his dream. And as a father who has supported him and everything that he's wanted to do with baseball, it just thrills my heart that this is happening for him. So with that said, again, my email is davidallencrow5.5 at gmail.com. If you ever want to reach out, if there's something that you'd like to ask or anything that you want me to pray for you about, please reach out to me. Just continue to pray for my family, continue to pray for my son, because one thing I will tell you is stepping out and doing these things in faith and being obedient to God, there is always going to be spiritual warfare. And so I'm not immune to that. None of us are. So any prayer to cover us is always appreciated. Thank you, and we'll see you next time. And go Chiefs. Playoffs this weekend. You see the Chiefs stuff behind me. We're hoping to go for the three-peat. So let's see. It starts on Saturday. If you hear hooping and hollering in north central San Antonio, that's probably me if the Chiefs are winning. Talk to you next week.